Hi, and welcome to Inspired Messages with me, Sue. And gosh, January has been um, very exciting. So much going on. We're not sure what to believe, what not to believe, what to believe. Oh my goodness me. And February is arguably another month where we have transits and eclipses indicating change is coming. If you remember in January, it set the stage with the fiery Mars Pluto conjunction, which is, massive. And February brings the great change. We're seeing a rare convergence of outer planets, all changing signs at the same time, and something that usually, happens years apart, but, is now happening all at once. But today, the first, we have the full moon in Leo, and Leo's very fiery. And this moon is dramatic because if you know Leos, they are dramatic. Very heart centered, very loyal as well. So, this is a very dramatic, heart centered full moon. And it's a time of maximum exposure for leaders and celebrities. And in fact, lots of celebrities, particularly actors and singers, have a strong Leo. So it does bring that exposure for anybody who's in the limelight. So we can expect big public spectacles, maybe a focus on the arts as well, and a collective urge to be seen and to be heard. And because Leo is ruled by the sun, this full moon is particularly radiant, and it emphasizes themes of, as I said, visibility, self expression, and the courage to be seen. So, coming off the heels of January's deep emotional processing, this moon um, really acts as a theatrical release, if you like. It asks you to stop hiding behind the collective, the Aquarius sun, which is the sun's in Aquarius at the moment, and step into your own individual spotlight. It's about the sovereign heart, it's about being a sovereign. And Leo, as I've said, governs the heart, creative joy, and the inner child, and authentic self expression. It's actually a nudge from the cosmos to be your authentic self. And if you've been doing things just to fit in, then this moon might, make those compromises feel unbearable. And the full moon, is about change, about getting rid of things that no longer serve us. So, projects started around the last Leo new moon, which was in August last year, 2025, are likely reaching fruition or a turning point now. So you may find yourself seeking or receiving acknowledgement for what you've done over the past few months or your unique talents. Um, Obviously, as in most charts, there are planetary aspects. So the flavour of this full moon is shaped by its interactions with the other planets, and the moon obviously is always opposite the sun in the full moon chart. And as the sun is in Aquarius, this is the standard full moon tension, really balancing your personal desires. So the moon is in Leo, and the sun is in its opposite sign of Aquarius. So it's about, as I say, tension between those two and balancing, your what you want, which is the Leo side, with the needs of the group, which is Aquarius. Aquarius rules groups. And this full moon is aspecting the ruler of Aquarius, Uranus. And this creates a T square, adding a layer of unpredictability. So you can expect sudden insights, aha moments, or feeling restless to break free from what you've been doing, and it can feel a bit like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're going, um, but it's great for breakthroughs. And Uranus is known as the awakener. So obviously this moon is making other aspects, and it is trining Chiron, the planet of healing, which gives really a supportive angle that really suggests this emotional release is deeply healing, and it empowers you to lead with your understanding of what wounds you have, and then you can use the wisdom you've acquired to heal those around you. And lastly, really, Jupiter doesn't officially enter Leo until later in 2026, but because the moon is in Leo, it acts as a sneak peek or a prelude to that expansive energy, and you might feel a surge of optimism or a big idea forming of some kind. So we jump to the 3rd of February and we have in bulk, which happens when the sun is at 15 degrees of Aquarius. And this is the time of St. Bridget, which represents that spring is just around the corner. It's a time of potential. And so it's also time to realize our own potential. On the 4th, Uranus goes direct. So it's a big moment on February the 4th. And as Uranus ends its 5 months retrograde and stations direct at 27 degrees of Taurus, ready to go direct again. Because Uranus, as we've talked so many, many times, is a planet of revolution or eureka moments and sudden shifts. Its stationary direct acts like a cosmic unplugging and plugging back in. When a planet moves forwards after being retrograde, the internal lessons we've been chewing on for months suddenly demand some kind of action. So what are you going to do to make these changes? But also looking at it from the world point of view, Uranus, as I've said, is currently still in Taurus, and this is a sign that rules money, banking, food supplies, farming, and the earth itself. And since 2018, this transit has been shaking up how the world views value, because Taurus is all about what we value. But we can think of it, maybe it's connected to digital currency, and even supply chain that might alter, maybe where our food comes from may alter in some way. But as it goes direct, you can expect sudden movements in global markets, or let's look at it in a positive way, or breakthroughs in how we handle our resources. Um, so any stalled economic projects or new agricultural technologies that have been in the works since late 2025 might suddenly launch or gain massive momentum. So we need to keep our eye on that as well. We know, don't we, that the farmers are still up in arms, still fighting their corner, which is very Uranian. Um, but anyway, now when Uranus is direct, that internal itch becomes an external move, and on a global scale, this often correlates with grassroots movements, protests again, or sudden leadership shifts, where people demand more personal freedom or modern solutions to old world problems, because the old world is going. So there could be high-tech breakthroughs, um, as this electric planet Uranus rules technology and innovation. That's why we might see high tech breakthroughs, and you might see a surge in tech news, particularly regarding maybe energy, AI, or aerospace. Um, if there has been a lull in the next big thing since September 2025, February the 4th actually marks the day the gears start turning again. So we might also have personally aha moments. It's a day when the fog lifts for us regarding a specific change you've been maybe scared to meet and to make. Maybe you start to make, these plans to move forward. If you've been stuck in a rut, especially regarding your finances, because Taurus rules finances, or your self worth, it also rules that. You might wake up on or around the 4th of Feb with a sudden clear vision of how to move forward. It's actually less about thinking and more about knowing. But a word of caution, Uranus stations are notorious for being a bit jittery. You might find that electronics act up, your light bulbs might go suddenly, or electrical things might suddenly, break, or your sleep schedules get a bit wonky because this energy is high voltage. So you need to stay grounded. So if you can do that, I know in the UK it's very cold, so maybe hug a tree if you can. That would be really good. Um, but anyway, that's all happening quite early on in the month, and then the middle of February marks a massive energetic change. And we've talked about it a lot. It's the two heavy hitters moving from the watery nebulous sign of Pisces into the fiery action sign of Aries. So Saturn enters Aries on February the 13th, and Saturn represents structure and authority. And in Aries, it demands a new kind of leadership. Globally, we may see the rise of new nations, new physical borders, or a pioneer approach to global security. But on a personal level, it's about taking action, but the action has to be with a plan, it has to be disciplined. The Saturn Neptune conjunction, which astrologers have been talking about for months, happens on February the 20th, and this really is the big one because these two meet at 0 degrees of Aries, and that is the very first degree of the zodiac. And this hasn't happened for thousands of years. So that's why every astrologer is saying it's a cosmic reboot because it's 0 point. It represents the birth of a new collective dream. We need to expect major announcements regarding maybe spiritual movements, um, medical breakthroughs, or even new governing blueprints for the world. It's actually the marriage of the visionary, which is Neptune, and the builder of it, uh, the structure of it, which is Saturn. And also, February isn't a standard lunar month, it contains an eclipse, which acts as a wild card for global events. New moon solar eclipse in Aquarius on February the 17th. This occurs at 28 degrees of Aquarius. How will this, eclipse affect the world? Well, if you remember other times that we've had eclipses, they do bring fated sudden changes. In Aquarius, it relates to technology, AI, and social networks. We could see a major technological glitch, maybe, or a breakthrough that permanently changes how we communicate. This is a power to the people moment where the collective decides it has had enough of the old system. And this new moon on February the 17th It's actually much more than a typical monthly reset. It's a solar eclipse in Aquarius. In astrology, eclipses act like supercharged new moons that can trigger major pivots or reboots in your life that unfold over the next 6 months. So it doesn't happen on February the 17th. It has an effect over the next few months. And since the Sun and Moon are meeting at approximately 28 degrees of Aquarius, the energy is strong. It's very like high voltage, uh, unpredictable, visionary, and it is actually squaring Uranus again. So Uranus, as we know, is a planet of surprises, rebellion, sudden breakthroughs, and it is the modern ruler of Aquarius. A square is always a challenge. It creates tension that demands some kind of action. So you might feel a sudden urge to break free from from a situation that feels restrictive. It's expect the unexpected energy. You may see, or something. You might get this aha moment. You might see an answer to your problem. You might get a lightning bolt of clarity. You might suddenly realize that a certain path or friendship no longer fits your life, and that can lead to a sudden change in direction. Saturn and Neptune conjunction at the Aries point, um, while not a direct aspect to this moon, this massive alignment is happening just days later after, the new moon. Uh, but its influence is felt, will be felt strongly during the eclipse. Saturn is about, like I've said, structure and responsibility as well, and being real. Neptune is completely different. It's nebulous. It's about, dreams and spirituality. So meeting at the Aries point, yeah, it does suggest a great reset. Um, it is about turning a dream into a concrete path. It's the bridge between I wish I could and here is how I'm building it. So we all need to think about how we can be part of this, um, in a maybe solo, but I think more in a group situation because we can do more together. But if that's not possible, then making a change in your own life is also well worthwhile. So the North Node is the direction that we should be moving towards. And the North Node will be moving into Aquarius, and that marks the beginning again of a new cycle, um, because it's moving backwards. Actually, from it moves backwards from Pisces into Aquarius, and so we're shifting away from the me-centered drama, which is Leo, and towards we-centered innovation, which is the Aquarius. The group, the focus is on community, and what we can do as a team. Obviously, technology, as well, and your role within the group. But it's less about being the star of the show and more about being a vital part of the team. Um, and Mercury does retrograde on February the 26th. Um, it will be stationing retrograde in Pisces on the 26th, just as the month ends. Um, and the planet of communication, goes backwards. So after the energy of the eclipse and the Saturn Aries shift, this is, a pause, forced pause. So you might expect confusion in the media, maybe travel delays, and a need to review the radical changes, that took place in February. So I always have an affirmation, and I feel like it's a really important month. So um, this affirmation is for the new beginning that we're all going to experience. So hand on your heart chakra, and every morning say, "All is well. We are all moving forward into a new positive world full of love, abundance, peace, joy, and happiness." And I'll repeat that. All is well. We are all moving forward into a new positive world full of love, abundance, peace, joy, and happiness. And you can imagine if everybody was saying that around the world, it would happen. The vibration of that sentence, it would take us to where we need to be. So I would love to think that you're actually saying that every morning. Anyway, I will put some links to videos. I always put a few links to videos underneath my video. Please like and share and subscribe. I know everybody else is saying it, but um, really it helps the algorithms and it helps get the video shared more. It doesn't cost you anything. And my website is astrologysue.com. My Facebook is Astrology Sue Fletcher. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with me. And I hope you have a really great February. Keep grounded, any aha moments, any dreams, all of that, write it down. And maybe do a vision board about how you see your life in the future in a positive way. That would be a really good thing to do in February. So have a great month, and I will see you at the beginning of March. So bye for now. Bye bye.